the way that you treat a woman in a most vulnerable moment, which pregnancy ranks high as one of those moments, she would never forget.
The person you choose as a life partner would determine if you will make heaven or not.
In terms of Australia right now,
Yeah.
and the sudden change in their laws and their strategy, how do you think that has impacted people right now with the different laws changing every second?
I thought Australia was like a moral country.
Oh
They say
my
you
God.
can't get a postgraduate
Oh my
visa if you're over 35.
Australia woke up one day and decided to be inhuman about it. That's like mental torture.
It is. The system tortures you like daily, especially partner visa. There are people that have been waiting for 4 years to reunite with their partner. You don't have time for your family. You can't take care of your health.
Is Australia the dreamland in 2024?
Australia may not be for you because
Welcome to Tayo and Nuances podcast. Let me ask you something. Have you ever heard a secret so good you had no idea what to do with it? Well, that's what we're about to share. But before we start, would you mind keeping this as a secret between us? Are you in? Yes. Let's roll. Noah, why do you think Australia is no longer the dreamland in 2024?
I think that's a very profound question, to be honest. And in my own personal experience, I think that there's been a lot of challenges, I'd say,
Okay.
in terms of if you look at the Australian immigration or migration system, affect a lot of families, right? For example, there are people who are separated because maybe one partner is not in Australia and one is stuck overseas
Yeah.
because it takes so much time to be able to get a response, for a visa decision, and that takes a toll.
Now, when you say so much time before you get a response back from Home Affairs, as an example,
Yeah,
what does so much mean? How long are we talking about here?
yeah, very valid question. In my own experience, I've been waiting for over 24 months.
For a
Right?
response from the immigration?
Yeah, I mean, like, I came in initially on a student visa. All right, thanks to you. Hey.
You did.
And I loved it here.
Mm.
I always love, like, I think I don't have regret. Um, but mentally, it is so stressful to be waiting for a visa for 24 months. Now
Wow.
I've been on, bridging visa for 24 months, waiting for responses, and every single time, I think I've seen the pattern. Like every 3 months, they say, "Hey, we need more information." I
Yeah.
provide, and then we need more information, and I provide it. Then we need even more information. So like it's so stressful. And beyond that, there are other things, to be honest, not just visa. In terms of people who live here as well, there's high cost of living. I think I don't think that is only peculiar to Australia anyway. But Australia is such a unique country. We're typically like considered in a different world, to be honest. We're far from everywhere. And if you're somebody that you like the close communal ties with people back home, then Australia may not be for you because you the time zone is like so different. Like we're mostly like one day ahead, majority
Yeah.
of people,
Far from
especially
everywhere.
in Nigeria, right? So we're going to bed, they are waking up. They are going to bed, we're waking up. Communication, you have to be deliberate, to be able to engage on a deeper level.
How does that affect families though? Because you've talked about a really long wait time right now before you get a response back from immigration. How do you think that impacts family members who would get separated
Mm.
as a result of an insanely long wait time from
Yeah,
Australia immigration?
that's a very good question. Like, if you look at the news, you see, especially partner visa, there are people that have been waiting for years.
Mm,
I was actually shocked.
yeah.
And that's why I say, oh, wow, maybe even as bad as I think my situation is waiting for bridging visa. There are people that have been waiting for 4 years to reunite with their partners
You're
here
in a
in Australia.
privileged position,
I
I'll
am.
say. Yeah,
I am. At least I've got you, right?
you did. You did.
And despite the
Wow.
despite the uncertainty, right? I know
Yeah.
that we're here together.
Yeah.
I'm limited in some things I can do
Okay.
because of visa restrictions,
Hmm.
but like it's not so bad. Like people who are overseas, like waiting for their partner, that takes a toll.
Well, I ask that because more recently it's been a bit of a conversation and say,
Hmm.
hey, should people really come to Australia in 2024? Should they be exploring other countries as an example? Which is quite tough because I've also been a victim of that.
Yeah,
I've got two brothers who are wanting to come to Australia
yeah,
on a
yeah.
student visa.
Hmm.
And I hear things like, hey, they've got 10% chance at success.
Yeah.
And 10% in my books is like we
It's not
stand no
looking
chance.
good
Like so
now.
it's like 90 there's a higher chance, there's 90% chance that they would not get
Yeah, and
approved of that visa.
yeah, like for ridiculous reasons. Like our brother, they said
Unrest in Nigeria. What does that even mean?
it
Because
was so sad. Like,
yeah,
he met all the criteria and
yeah.
then like economic situation and unrest in the country. They are supposedly saying he's trying to escape the country, right? Which is not true. He's coming here for education. And if you look at the student denial rate,
Yeah.
they refuse visa for like they don't even ID. They say they want to limit
The
the
number
number
of
of
people in the
people.
country.
Right. So and of course we can appreciate that a lot of people have come into Australia recently, like 1 year, 2 years.
Mm.
But there's some country that they've marked like you applied for visa,
It's like literally 1%.
like you it's just like a waste of time really. And we bear the brunt of that.
We do.
So
We're
we are
victims
like
or
like we can't even try again because
nah.
they are not even going to get COE from the
From the
school.
school.
If you've got a refuser, like we've tried, like
Yeah.
they've gotten a
I was
refuser.
informed. Don't bother, don't try it.
Don't try.
Don't try it. So I was just thinking
Mm,
right now, okay, Australia, Dreamland, it's a
yeah,
really beautiful country, if
it
we're being
is.
very honest.
Yeah,
But I think that there's also like other things that I think that should be considered.
yeah.
So Noah, if someone asked you right now, I've got a visa, I want to come into the country,
Mm,
based on the economic reality and based on the living expense, which is quite high right now,
yeah.
are there some states that they should avoid going to as a starting point?
I think that's very interesting, and I think in my own experience,
Mm.
you need to have a good plan.
What does a
And
good plan look like?
yeah, I'll tell you. So there are some states that definitely you will feel the high cost of living a
Oh,
bit more, right? Sydney,
oh my God.
Melbourne.
Yeah,
So when we start from housing, like it's even going to be so tough for you to get housing.
yeah.
Right? You need to have a very strong profile,
You'd be
right?
lucky if you got one.
To get accommodation and to get a job is another thing, which we're gonna get to later. I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask you about, what you think about that. But like you go to those states, whilst there are a lot of opportunities there, it
Hmm.
is tough for a
Hmm.
new migrant that like I just think if you don't have a robust plan and backing,
Yeah.
you would burn out quickly. You'll be so unhappy because once you get to close and you pick 2 3 things, it's already $200.
And if you're lucky, you've got a baby, you put the formula in there, that's already like
Um,
skyrocket.
oh, but you know that diapers and nappies and all of that,
Mm.
the cost is like our childcare. Our
Cue me.
yeah, it's already
It's
stacking up,
done. It's
right?
gone.
And
It's
it's
gone.
it's, it's very challenging. So you've got to like look at it. Am I going there because the opportunity I have there matches up to my high cost of living?
Or am I just
expenses.
going there because
That is,
Sydney and Melbourne
they
is
are the big
popular?
city, they are
Mm.
popular. So you've got to have a plan.
You know, one of our friends,
Yeah.
they moved to Sydney, and I think he had mentioned, I think 3 bedroom was like $600.
That would be like 1 year ago.
Yes, a
No,
year ago.
not
And it
now.
was like so small, no garage, like nothing like
Correct.
that. And it was, to him, it was like, wow,
Yeah.
wow, this is a mistake. So for me, I would say, except you're Otedola Dangote or Elon Musk, or you've got a really, really robust bank account,
Yeah.
like avoid those two states.
Yeah.
Run, literally, right?
Absolutely. And that leads us really to, what do you think about coming to those cities, just Australia in general,
Yeah.
and not having a plan for your career on how to handle that restart process we always talk about?
To be honest, that's a big headache for a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
Coming into the country with the old balls. I'm coming as a permanent resident. Life will figure out itself.
Mm.
I'm coming as a employer sponsor visa, whatnot.
Yeah.
Life will figure out itself. I think one thing I would say there is, if you're coming into this country and you want to maintain the career that you had back home, perhaps you're working in the bank or
Mm.
you're working whatnot, you need to have a plan. You need to have a strategy in place. Otherwise, you're going to fall into the loop of having to work
Mm.
in the popular sectors, i.e., in the care sector, which is not bad. Like, if you have to do that for a while,
Yeah.
but you kind of need to look at the bigger picture. Like, is this really what I want?
Yeah.
If you ask yourself every day and say, if I was working as a disability support worker or as a youth worker, as an example, would I feel genuine happiness?
Yeah.
If your answer is no, if I was working in the aged care and your answer is no
Yeah.
to those questions, then you need to have a plan.
Yeah.
Do not ever be deceived that it is impossible to go back to corporate or
Mm.
work in those space. If you
Yeah.
do have a plan like we do at Sync Skills, where we support people to get jobs as business analyst, scrum master, etc., like those are the things that we put in place to support people to say, hey, do not be deceived. It's a restart process. To your question, is it tough? Yes. Is it doable?
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Yeah.
So my advice to anyone coming into Australia, knowing that they don't want to just settle for low skill jobs and just like, work as kitchen hand or work as a cleaner. If those
Yeah.
things don't appeal to you. And like I always say, there is absolute dignity in every job. It just
Yeah.
depends on personal preferences. What I want is different from what you want. Even though we're married, we love the same things
Yeah.
oftentimes, but like generally, people love different things. So for me, I would say, have a plan. What career path do you want to jump into when you come into the country, and
Mm.
ask questions? Do not just get complacent and fall into the loop of, this is what we do in the country. This is what all Africans do. This is what immigrants do.
Mm.
I think that's extremely important. That's a really great question.
Yeah, it is. And we're trying to like break that barrier,
Mm.
break that mindset, limiting beliefs that people
Yeah.
have when they come into Australia,
Yeah.
and they get his advice.
We all do care job.
Yeah.
Go and get your certificate 3, go and get certificate 4. And yeah, if right from the airport, someone's already skimming out to get your first aid and they're trying to help you, which is okay. But is that the only thing available for you to do in the country?
Mm.
An absolute no.
I did a post on TikTok, you're aware, and took off.
It took off.
Like,
That's your most viral post now.
yeah. Actually, I was quite happy. Like, okay, this is a validation
It's a big problem.
of what we often we put that context
Yeah.
there. There's dignity in all labor,
Correct.
but people genuinely stuck and feeling unhappy
Mhm.
working in the care sector,
Yeah.
especially people that are like doctors, lawyers, accountants. We
Yeah.
see all of those people in
Yeah.
our community. We sing skills and all the things that we do.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts? How did that advice affect you on your journey?
Look, genuinely, I felt, wow, is this real? I mean, I was quite young at the time. I had come into the country. I just wanted to live a soft life.
Yeah.
But everyone seemed to be headed in the same direction rather. And I remember in church back then, people would say, hey, Do you have certificate this? Do you have certificate this? Like that was the advice. And for a moment, I almost believed those were the type of jobs.
Mm,
Those were the only type of jobs available to people of color, available to people like myself.
mm,
And if Mercy hadn't said no, like I would have just settled as well. But I also acknowledge how easy it is to settle. Because if that's what you've always known,
mm.
and you don't have anyone telling you, or you're not in the circle of people thinking forward. Like I was talking to someone the other day and she said, Tayo, every single person in my circle do not believe that this is possible.
Yeah,
I'm coming onto this program to prove them wrong.
wrong. Yeah.
And I said to her, look, I will work with you and ensure that you get what you want.
Mm,
So for someone like that, if she hadn't seen the post that we put on social media, she would always believe that there is nothing much more out there for her to
mm.
latch on. For me, I saw like all the people around me back then, like in church, as a newbie in Australia, everyone worked in the same sector and, gave their advice based on what they know, really. Like that's what I would say. Like it was based on what they know. But for me, for a moment, I felt, wow,
Mm.
this can't possibly be what people of color will do in the country.
Yeah.
But you can see it across board, because even where I currently work now as a senior business analyst, I'm still the only black girl in there. And there's a lot of companies, even like yourself as
Yeah.
well, where you won't we are so like underrepresented in those places. But it's 2024. I'm really hoping that migrating to Australia, people would not see it as something that just diverts you away from like your true calling.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, if you're coming into the country, please don't hesitate to ask questions. Ask questions. Go on Google if you want a training, if you want a boot camp, if you want to rejig your career. How do I go for interviews? How do I interview properly? How do I show my soft side? There are lots of resources out there. There are lots of things. I mean, there's sync skills.
Yeah.
That's what we live and breathe.
Yeah.
So just a quick Google search. I feel like the world is so technology driven right now.
Yeah, it
If you
is.
want something, just go online and search. Lots of support system would pop up. So for me, thinking out affected me. Yeah, well, it did stay there for a while, for a minute as well. I did believe perhaps that's what I would do. I was
Mm,
making money, and I would tell you as well, like, there's money in this, I do this, but at what cost? So those were the questions for me.
mm.
At what cost? When I start to raise a family, would I love to continue to do this? And since my responses were no, I followed through with my boyfriend's advice, and bless him.
Yeah. Um, just on that, it is funny that that is still true to today.
It is.
Like
And that was a
referring
while
to that
ago.
post,
Yeah.
right? People, I've got like more than 25 DMs, right? And say, hey, I'm so
I'm
tired.
sick of
Oh my
this.
God, somebody's talking about this. Is
Yeah.
this possible?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh my God, this is what we always say, sing skills, all
Yeah.
of that. But people still don't know. But just on top of that, there's a very like small but important matter that I also think that when you're coming to Australia, you need to actually have at the back of your mind. For example, my first name is Oluwagbenga. And I recall when I was desperate to get a job.
Someone advised you to change to a more relatable name.
Yeah,
And that's sad.
a recruiter, like, because, like, oh, I can't dare to pronounce your name.
Yeah.
It's long. And if I do all the right things, i.e., optimize, use tools, whatever,
Yeah.
and my resume finally gets to the hiring manager table or the recruiter, and they see my name, Oluwagbenga, and they can't pronounce it, they may not want to call me, so they don't like make me feel like insulted because they can't pronounce my name
Pronounce
well.
the name.
They just go the safer, lazy route of
Which is
just like,
sad.
yeah, so I will not get a call.
Mm.
And I did that test, change it to Noah. Is easy. Noah is easy, right?
Mhm.
My other name. And then I started getting, because I knew my strategy was working, but I was confused. Like, why am I not getting more calls than I
Yeah.
should?
Yeah.
Then I changed that, and I
Change it.
got that feedback like, hey, maybe your name is a bit
It's
know,
a bit.
but
It's a mouthful.
mouthful, right?
Yeah,
That was the word, right?
mouthful. Like,
And so
come on.
those things they matter here. They're
Yeah.
soft, but like, they matter. And somehow that has become my identity now. Even me, I don't remember to call my name like Oluwagbemi Fu anymore in this climb.
Yeah,
I
because
just
you
like
just use your
Noah.
other name. Yeah,
Easy for everybody,
easy for everyone. So
right?
those are little things. It could be like nuances that you need to be aware of as
Mm,
well. But no, I wanted to ask you in terms of Australia right now
yeah,
and the sudden change in their laws and their strategy.
yeah.
How do you think that has impacted people right now with the different laws changing every second? You could have done something because there was a condition in place that would
Yeah.
allow you, to perhaps get your work visa or something like that. But then
Mm.
you wake up one day
So
and immigration says, sorry, that no longer applies. Like, how has that been affecting people, especially with the new law, with the age 35? Like, what does that look like?
that is the most shocking thing. I thought Australia was like a moral country, but how they treat people these days, they use people to play political games, and sometimes they don't remember that there are people
At
at
the
the
heart of this.
immigration policy is a political debate, right? They debate, oh, yeah, this should be, cut the numbers, cut this, cut that, change the laws. But one law that actually
Can
did shock
ruin
me
everyone.
was when they said put a age,
Cap.
cap on people that can get postgraduate visa. And these are people that have been maybe close to, graduation.
Oh
They say
my
you
god.
can't get a
Oh
postgraduate
my
visa
god.
if you're over 35.
Oh
These
my
are
god.
people that have started the program before this law. Maybe they are almost graduating on the now they're in limbo and they don't actually know what next.
I think that that's very sad because I personally know some people who are affected by this
It-
and the fact that they have to go back to study. So
It's
someone studied for 2 years.
yeah,
Australia decided, woke up one day and decided to be inhuman about it, change their laws affecting lives.
and there's no grandfathering law. Like okay, people that have been
It
on
won't
that
affect
journey,
them.
we won't affect just new people, right? Because it's a promise when you say this is the law, this is the policy, right?
It is sad.
And I work based on I sign up for a course. I have expectation that I want to get opportunity to work and find my pathway to PR and all of that, and build a life and contribute to the economy. And then suddenly you
You just
just
wake up one
wake
day
up one
and the law
day,
is different.
tune in the news. The law is, and this happens not just for age bracket alone. So many things. They
Yeah.
may remove your course
Yeah.
from the
Yeah, from
list,
the list.
right?
Yes.
They may remove it, and now suddenly all your plans on why you even chose the course, immigration strategy gone.
It's insane. It's tough. It's tough because when you think about like the uncertainty that comes with it, I feel like that's like mental torture
It
for
is.
people.
It is. The system tortures you like daily. Like you go to work.
You just
If
sleep
you're
in.
unfortunate where you are in a job you're not really happy about,
Oof.
that does not give you joy, that drains your energy,
You're gone.
you don't have time for your family, you can't take care of your health, and you're stuck legit. The danger there is that you will now be stuck for many, many years because,
You just
unlike Africa, where if I don't have money, I can just rock up my friend's house,
yeah.
have a meal.
Yeah.
I
Good
don't think
luck.
about rent every week.
Good
I think
luck.
about it once a year, right?
Yeah.
Even if I don't have rent, I can go stay in my parents' house or whatever. There's always somebody you can just hang around with, right? There's that support coming here every single week. Phone bill, electricity, water, rent. Like there's so many fuel, car, maintenance,
That you have to think
subscriptions.
about.
You wake up, it's bills
You
and
breathe,
bills.
it's bills. Even when you don't wake up, you're
Yeah.
still paying bills.
So you build resilience.
Hmm.
And that takes me to the next part to ask you. A lot of people have complained, "Oh, I'm now an introvert here. Like, I don't even have any joy. I don't go out. I'm just like working. I'm burnt out. Like, what? Like, is that something you can relate to, or you have any advice?
Personally, I never felt bored, even
Mm,
when I wasn't married.
mm,
Boredom was something I never felt in the country, and that's just me being completely honest. I was with my friend for quite a while, and I'm naturally not. I don't feel bored. I feel like there's too many things happening, but I acknowledge that there are people who genuinely feel very lonely, more around people who have been separated,
yeah.
especially. So you've got someone who's got like a year old or 2 year old back home in Nigeria, but they're here on the student visa, and immigration has decided we're gonna hold off your family member's visa until you finish and see if you go back to your country,
Mm,
which is tough. So for people like that, it's tough. I could never ever live without my husband or my child and stay
mm,
in this country. That would never be me.
mm,
But there are people who have to do that because they've made so much sacrifice.
mm,
So I think one advice that I would give to anyone who is feeling lonely right now would be, if you have the opportunity to travel, try and like do occasional visit outside of the country, like try to
mm.
visit your family members, because honestly, you can't think about the dollars and be like, oh, I can save that money if that's really, really important to you.
And that's challenging as well, because when you think about the cost to get to Nigeria back home,
Yeah,
at least you need 5K
yeah,
ticket. If you think about everything, you may need 10K to go home.
yeah.
Where do you get 10K for?
Yeah, well, it is
From?
what it is. That's the price you pay. As immigrants, you pay a lot of prices. You do things and you just question, how much money did we spend generally?
Mm,
Even us right now. Like, how much money did we spend when we're trying to do all these visas and all those things? It
mm,
drains you.
mm,
But what I'm trying to say is, where there's an opportunity for you to go back home, please go back home for your mental health. Like, travel, come back, visit your family members. Maybe you guys can meet halfway, door. But another practical thing that I wanted to say is community, church. If you're a Christian, as an example, try and find local churches around you.
yeah.
Do you understand? Like, I think that that's really important. You would you would definitely find people who are of the same age range. Hopefully, you find someone that you connect to as well. In church, there are lots of Nigerian groups as well. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, Nigerian groups, I don't want to join Nigerian groups." These groups are super important.
Mm,
They uplift. They do a lot of amazing things that people don't even know. Do you understand? Like,
yeah.
so I feel like it's extremely important to call out the importance of community. If you're a professional, LinkedIn is also a good place where you can connect with people. For us, we're very big on community. Try to ensure that people can connect, still feel like, hey, this is Australia. And there's something I always say to people: if you're in this country, you need to just settle with the reality.
Mm. What does that mean?
When I say settle with reality, I mean you need to be very self-aware.
Mm,
You need to know that, hey, I'm by myself in this country. There's two things that I can do. I can wallow in grief. Every day I wake up, feel sad about the situation. But guess what? That won't change nothing. Or you can decide to look on the brighter side of things and continue to just put your hopes in God. I know that someday soon I would connect with my family. I think that we just need to be very practical. There are things that you can't change. I always say to people, your anxiety will not change the future. Your grief will not change the past either. It's not going to change the situation. You need to look after your health.
mm,
You need to look after yourself. It's only when you're fine that you'll be able to reconnect with those family members again. So
absolutely.
if you don't look after yourself and settle with the reality and become self-aware, it's a joke. So for me, that's one thing I always would say to anyone who is feeling a little bit lonely.
Yeah.
Try, if you've got friends, connect with friends. If you don't have, there's church. Stay close knitted to your online family members. Call
Yeah.
them every time. Just settle with the reality and acknowledge, this is my life now. I can do nothing about it at the moment.
I think that's brilliant. And what we're talking about here is not something you just find online. And these are real personal
Real
experience of,
issues. Real
that
issues.
we're sharing, right? And that leads me to, what is the cost of giving birth when you are on a student visa, right? And just for people that don't actually understand,
Okay.
because we've had some people that
Yeah.
gone through the process
Yeah.
and they're now like having to pay a lot of
Yeah.
money,
Yeah.
right? What is the cost?
The cost that you pay for coming to Australia on a student visa while you're pregnant is insane, and it's very intense.
Hmm.
So again, to my previous point, if you do not have a robust bank account, please have that baby in Nigeria before you come to Australia. And here's why. A lot of people rely on insurance. Agents don't tell them
Yeah.
that there is a waiting period
Yeah.
for insurance, which goes up to 12 months,
Yeah.
depends on the insurer. So what that looks like is if you come into the country pregnant 7 months, 5 months, pregnancy is 9 months, right? You wouldn't have spent 12 months and in either
Yeah.
ways. So
Yes.
if you come into the country with pregnancy, whilst you're on a student visa, you would bear the cost. And that can go up to $15,000. Depends on the mode of delivery. I
Hmm.
think if you went through labor vaginal delivery, that's 5,000. If you went through cesarean, that could go up to 10 grand
Yeah.
to 15. Depends on how many days you spend there. So my advice would honestly, my honest advice to anyone who is pregnant and attempting or wanting to come to Australia on a student visa would be reevaluate.
Hmm.
Try and ensure that you've got that money. Eliminate surprises. Go online and read about it. Your overseas health cover would not cover you.
Hmm.
It simply won't work.
What if they say, well, my child is gonna be an Australian
There's
citizen?
no such thing. That your child won't become an Australian citizen except you are an Australian citizen. Your child would have a student visa just like you. So Australia is not one of those countries that you rock up to like Canada and America. The UK doesn't have offer citizenship either, do they? To the child, do they?
I'm not quite sure. Yeah, we have to
Okay,
do.
I'm not too sure either, but I know in the
Or
states and Canada would offer your child a citizenship. Australia would not. So
yeah,
don't come with that fantasy. "Oh, yeah, if I give
till
them,
at least till the child is 10
yeah,
until
yeah,
yeah,
good
and
luck.
yeah, that's a long time,
That's a
right?
long time. So typically, your child would be on the same visa type that you have as a
Mm,
as a parent.
yeah.
So that's really tough. I know you're a football lover and you
Mm.
love sports,
All right,
Noah.
do until well,
So
my team.
being in
Yeah.
Australia right now, living in this part of the world, because I think that I do love sport as well, even though I would never wake up at 2 a.m. to watch. I love the idea of sport, like I would watch with you, and I used to watch with my brothers back then. But I wanted to find out from you, living in Australia, how has that impacted your sport life, your ability to fully marvel in your team's performance and watching the game in real time?
Yeah. I remember like when we were debating Australia, UK, all of that.
Yeah, that was
That was
fun.
one of those topics, right? Because it's so important to me. I would go to Old Trafford when I
Yeah.
was in the UK and go watch football, right? Um, and I'm such a big like when I was growing up, that was fun. I played football a lot. I watch
Yeah.
football. I play game, PlayStation.
Yeah.
So that was
A lot
fun.
of
That was
things.
joy for me.
Mm.
And coming into this country, that's
Mm.
kind of like beyond the fact that my team, they're like
What's your team again, Noah?
messing up really, Man United,
Oh,
right?
okay, yeah.
And it's quite sad, but I'm hoping. But yeah, I've kind of like reduced my expectation so it doesn't kill me, right? Because literally sometimes I get high blood pressure watching Man U and like,
I
oh
know.
my, what are
You
you doing,
stopped.
guys?
Yeah.
So, but here, most of the games are like midnight, right? So earliest maybe at best 9 p.m. But most times like 12 a.m., 1 a.m.
No one wants
Please,
to do that.
for like, and you know how we work intensely
Yes,
to
you
have to
do.
then wake up again when I've just slept like 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. sometimes to wake up 3 a.m. or 4
To
a.m.,
catch
5 a.m.
up with the
Nah,
game.
it's not worth
That
it.
won't happen.
So I miss that part of my
Mm.
life. So if you're a football lover, you think this is like
I
your
want
fabric, you need to think
I
about.
want to reconsider. I want to reconsider. The other day we were having a chat, Noah, and there's a lot of conversation about the African man or
Mm,
African men mentality. So for someone wanting to rock up to Australia right now, What advice or what would you say to someone who has got the African man mentality? What does that look like for them? What would life look like for them in Australia?
I think it will be difficult. And here is why. That African man mentality or whatever it is has to stay in Africa.
Needs to die there. Hey.
Needs to stay and die there,
Mm.
literally. And even, yeah, I know that's the tag because there are so many awesome men
Um,
in Africa who are very supportive, but I'm sure like we know what we mean by African mentality,
what does that mean
where
actually?
actually people feel like the man is more about like the man provider
All right.
and has that control, and the woman is like your place is in doing chores, care, all of those things for the
Wow.
family.
Wow.
And this system, it's also an ego thing as well,
Hmm.
right? Um, but it's a term used loosely, I would say.
Okay.
As I said, there are a
Hmm.
lot of fantastic African men who are
Yeah.
so supportive, who
Yeah.
don't think like that.
Hmm.
Like myself, before I moved here, never
Yes.
believed in that.
No, never.
Um, yeah, it's such an so if you have that mentality that okay, I just go out there, work and provide, right? And everything else around the house
It's
being
to be done by my
supportive,
wife.
needs to be done, but that's our place, like, to
Mm,
just look
mm,
after the
mm.
children, do
Right.
this,
Yeah.
that, like, it's not going to work here.
Why? Why wouldn't it work?
It won't work because the system is not set up that way, first of all. Like, the system will correct that mentality. And because a woman can make money, right? So
Correct.
if the only thing you bring to the table is money, you're not gonna be able to
Keep calm.
dominate her, right?
Yes.
The way you can in some climes, right? So you can't do that. And like there's so many things to do. In Nigeria, you can have help doing different things and it
True.
won't really be pronounced.
True. True.
Here, you do everything yourself.
Like what?
Chores. It's a big part of it. I don't like doing chores,
But
but
you
I
do it
have to
anyway.
do it. Like it's just part of, like you can't escape it. Right? At least not for like maybe when you're a billionaire, yeah, okay.
True. When you got
Or
like,
you
yeah,
got lots of money. But of course, we are comfortably poor at the moment.
we are
So
comfortably poor. Yeah.
yeah, if you don't have like 40 million, you're not rich.
That's it. Said what I said.
Yeah, you
Everyone's comfortable. Well, I call it. A lot of people are comfortably poor, but they
can.
think they have money
Yeah,
because they check their bank account and
true
it's like,
money is when you have money that you don't plan to spend, right?
exactly. And
Like
it's
true
just
wealth.
true
You
wealth.
don't have that money is a choice, right? It's something that gives
It's
you
a tool that gives you
different,
choices,
yeah,
really.
different choices. And if you and I'm not talking about having 100K or something
That's what a lot
because
of people call rich.
yeah, no, that's not like because like something can happen, the bill is already 40K and 50K.
Literally, by the
Yeah,
time
yeah.
you pay 60K, the money is gone.
$1,000 and then it's gone or
Hmm.
something, or you buy a car and that's it.
You're
Yeah,
gone.
so
That's not money.
that's not, yeah. But beyond that, money is not a tool to use to dominate here, right? Everybody can make money so long you work, right? And you can do cleaning job and earn good money, right? You
That's
can.
true.
So that is not. So you must step up to the plate and do other things. Be supportive. Bring 100%. And
Yeah.
that's what I was saying. Like we need to both bring
Not
100%. It's
100%.
not 50-50, it's 100%
Yeah.
to the party. The system is set up that way. So if both of us can make money, and money is not what, you
No
take
big deal.
no big deal. We can both work and earn the same thing, or whatever. And everything else will not be situated to okay, the
Yeah.
woman should do,
No. No.
right? Emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, every part of your life, both of you have to come to the picture.
100%.
The man is still the head of the home.
Okay.
There's still a place of respect, right? I
100%.
love you respect. You make me feel like a king, but I also have to make you feel like a queen,
That's right.
right?
Tell it.
We
Yeah.
complement each other.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah.
That is it. There are days where like I'm so tired and the house is upside down. You
Literally
don't like, of course, you got a kid, you know that your house will be like in a
upside
minute.
down in like
You don't say,
milliseconds.
oh, why didn't you watch this or why didn't you do this?
Yeah.
Like you just do it. That you want to outdo because like
I know
I
it
just
makes you
want,
happy.
yeah, now to wake up and like, oh my god, you did all of this, jeez, right? And that reciprocal, like I want
That's
to reciprocate,
reciprocated, yeah.
right? So I'm not also thinking, okay, she did all this thing. Let me go make meal. That thing she likes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And she like, oh, this was good. So you made this thing, makes you feel like the best, That is, and that's love, and that's so
That's
important. Those
very
small things.
important.
It's not about buying flowers and yeah, one
Yeah.
of. It's about being intentional,
Yeah.
being supportive.
Yeah.
Like it's so important here
Hmm.
because it's you and the person mostly that you have. It's not like can rock up to. It's not like Nigeria where it's your
You get
friends and
people.
your guys. You just go
Yeah.
to view center, go to
And
this, go
just go
to
and
your one
relax.
bed, go every time. Here, you're either at work, your family, and you're socializing 10% of the time.
Yeah. You know what you've just said now just made me remember one of my favorite things that I would say to you is the way that you treat a woman in a
Mm.
most vulnerable moment, which pregnancy stands ranks high as one of those moments, she would never forget.
Yeah, you say that a lot.
Never ever forget because those things they stay with you. Like those are moments where you're not in control of your emotions. There's lots of hormonal imbalance,
Mm.
changes in there. And to be in a household where someone's bringing 50
Mm.
and like in my state I'm still expected to bring on like 100 at that point in time where there's no understanding and there's no shift in
Yeah,
mentality, knowing that you are not in Africa where you can get three helps. You
yeah,
can literally get people to wear your shoes for you if
yeah.
you want. But but acknowledging that country, for me personally, I would never ever forget how beautifully I was treated
Mm.
during my pregnancy, and not even just during pregnancy now, every single day of my life. Do you understand? And that speaks to the 100% that
Yeah,
we both bring to the table. And I think that that's extremely important because that's not spoken about a lot in terms of what you need to, as a couple wanting to migrate to Australia or even any of the other countries, to be honest. Like, I think they're all applicable.
yeah.
Like, you both need to be ready to bring 100%.
Super
100%.
important.
There are days where I'm so tired, like you just look after Zion all night, and I'm like, oh, how many times did they wake up? And you're like, oh no, no, babies. And there are days where you're like
Yeah,
super
yeah.
tired as well. Like it's seamless.
That is
And
it.
that's
You
what you
don't
can
have to
ask
say,
for.
oh, please look after that initiative,
You
being
can
aware,
see, like that awareness is there.
and we're just sharing all this. So there are considerations for you as you
Start to
seek
think
to like,
about, yeah.
consider Australia. It's good. It's By the way, Australia is a beautiful country. I think everybody should come around and explore Australia at least once in their
I
lifetime,
think
right?
so.
Fantastic. You can go to a beach, a different beach for many, many years. Like it's so
You
big.
would
It's
not
a
exhaust.
continent. You will not exhaust it like I think over 100 years or something. Like there's so many beaches. Oh, yeah. Beach.
I hope you got the pronunciation right.
Yeah, you get my point too. Yeah,
There's so
yeah,
many. Now, this is a bit unconventional, and probably a lot of people don't talk about it. But I think it's really important if you're considering to move to Australia.
yeah.
Is the fact that it might be a little bit challenging or difficult for you to find a partner.
Mm.
Do you agree?
Uh, I don't have experience in that
No,
a
you
lot,
don't.
right? But keen
I've,
to hear your thoughts.
well, I've had a lot of people like, rock up to my DMs like, hey, Tayo, do you know someone who is single or,
Mm,
wanting to partner up and things like that.
mm,
And I think generally, and this is just based on my experience, I think it could be a little bit difficult just because there's not a lot of gatherings that would bring singles
mm,
together.
mm,
Unlike back home in Nigeria, where you probably have someone's birthday party, you have Owambe, you have this and that you'd go to, churches. A lot of people don't go to churches anymore because what? They're on shift because they want to make
Yeah.
double money,
Yeah.
right? So you may not necessarily, you like the chances or the opportunity is quite slim compared to if you were in Nigeria. So
Nigeria.
it's
Yeah.
important, if you had a great guy right now, do not throw them in the bin, or a great woman and then say, no, I'm going overseas. Now I'll find a woman. If you've got a great person, keep them. I
Yeah.
think that's really important to mention.
Super valuable, to be honest. Yeah, you need to do that because the person you choose as a life partner will determine if you will make heaven or not.
I agree.
Literally. So yeah,
Let me
super
re-echo
important.
your thoughts, Noah. The person you choose
Yeah,
as your life partner will determine whether you make heaven or not.
I
Wow,
said it.
that's
Yeah,
profound. Thank
because
you.
like we stay like we breathe each other like every single day. Where
Yeah,
imagine we can't tolerate each other.
that'd be insane.
Oh my goodness, your
Yeah,
life will be literally,
tough.
and then you just be flaring up every time. And how do you make it? How do you connect to your maker?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Still begs the question, really. Is Australia the dreamland in 2024?
But I would say if you somehow find a way to get visa that is suitable for your situation in good time, please come with your partner. Right. I would say make plans, make sure you make robust plan, housing, your job, so you don't get that advice and just get stuck and frustrated.
Hmm.
Consider your children, whether how they're gonna settle, impact, all of those things. And if you do all of those things, in my opinion, I think you'll be super grateful. You would enjoy the country because it's a beautiful country. And I think that it has potential to grow even a lot more. There's so many opportunity in Australia. I think it's genuinely better than the UK, Canada. I
Yes,
won't
I
say
said what I
US.
said. Australia is far better than the UK, and I can say that anywhere in the world. In my opinion, it is my opinion. I think that 100% Australia is a better place to live
Although I
than the
lived
UK.
1 year in the UK, I think Australia is better in terms of opportunities, not as saturated. It's bigger. There's where like you have space to breathe, like big roads, big houses, garage, everything. The UK, come on, everywhere is just small, like and yeah, a lot more. And then
It's the washing machine in the kitchen for me. I could never get over that. I was like, wait, what? What am I washing when I'm trying to cook pasta? Like, what is happening?
yeah,
Nah, the
so
UK, nah.
Australia is a fantastic country. But get your strategy right, get your tactics right, and you have a good experience. Else,
Amazing.
it will be a pain, and you'll be like, God, what is what did I just do?
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Thank you for sharing, Noah.
Thank you so much, Tayo. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Can I ask for a favor, please? Would you kindly subscribe to this channel? It helps us to be able to provide and continue to produce high quality content like this and reach more people just like you. Thank you so much. Do we have a deal? Let's get into it.